Hello, series lovers. Welcome to the first episode of the Boys comic series where I will narrate the story for you. This is the first episode, and today I'll be telling you the story of The Boys Issue 1, where we get a basic introduction to the Boys team. So without further ado, let's start the video. The story begins with Billy Butcher sitting in a park in front of the White House with his dog, Terror. As several superheroes fly over the park, Butcher looks at one of them and says, "One day you'll be mine?" After that, Butcher and Terror leave the park. The next scene takes us to Glasgow, Scotland, where Hughie is walking in a theme park with his girlfriend Robin. They're chatting when Robin suddenly says, "I love you," surprising Hughie. Robin asks if she said it too soon, but Hughie doesn't reply and instead kisses her. They stand holding hands, smiling at each other, when suddenly a massive supervillain crashes into Robin, slamming her into a wall. The supervillain hits Robin with such speed that her hand is left in Hughie's, and she dies on the spot. In another scene, we hear a call where a man tells Miss Raynor that a Mr. Butcher wants to see her. Raynor asks if he's a big English guy who talks like Michael Caine, and the man confirms. Despite Butcher not having an appointment, he has full agency clearance. Raynor cuts him off and says to send the man in and hold all her calls until the meeting is over. Next, we see Hughie crying over Robin's disfigured body, surrounded by medical and police officials. One of them asks Hughie to let go of Robin's hand, while another tries to prevent Hughie from looking at Robin. Nearby, A-Train shows no concern for Robin's death and acts as if nothing happened. A-Train asks a police officer where they are, and the officer replies that they're in Glasgow, asking where America is. Another officer angrily tells A-Train to go back where he came from, but A-Train says he needs to take the supervillain with him. Hearing Hughie's sobs, A-Train asks if they have people to handle the incident because he has to leave and then departs. The police officers sedate Hughie to calm him down. We then return to Raynor's office, where she asks Butcher why he's there. Butcher asks about Dakota Bob and if he's giving her accurate news on time. Raynor replies that the president is a good man with moral integrity and doesn't need to hear anything from Butcher about him. Butcher asks if any directives have recently come from the Oval Office, surprising Raynor. Butcher says she should have called him immediately upon learning of it and asks if there has been any progress or major success. Raynor tells him to continue. Butcher says her Central Intelligence isn't effective, as there are nearly 200,000 superpowered individuals, or supes, in the world, and her agency likely knows about only 5% of them. But he knows about them all, whether heroes or villains, saints or sinners, teenagers or golden age supes. Raynor asks if he knows someone who knows them, and Butcher confirms, saying he talks to the legend and no one else. He explains that superpowered individuals are the most dangerous people on Earth, and their numbers are growing. Eventually, they will become a threat to everyone. If you can dodge a bullet or run faster than a train, your intentions go beyond saving the world. And when they forget their humanity, only God can save us. Raynor mentions that Butcher dealt with her predecessor when everything went wrong. She understands that Butcher has the skills and her agency has the resources and legitimacy to let him work. But one thing puzzles her. Why does Butcher want to do this job? Butcher says he needs a job keeping an eye on the supes. Dakota Bob also said someone needs to keep tabs on them, gather information, and act against them if necessary, even killing one or two when the time comes. Raynor interrupts, asking where the rest of his team is. Butcher says he'll meet Mother's Milk tonight. Frenchie is likely at a cafe, and they heard that someone mutilated a Mog in Baltimore, so the female is back in action. He also needs a replacement for Colonel Mallory, who won't be returning. Raynor agrees, mentioning that Butcher got Mallory's grandchildren killed. The scene shifts to Hughie's house, where someone is calling him from the gate. Hughie opens the gate and the men ask to come in. Once inside, they offer sympathy for Robin's death and talk about compensation in exchange for Hughie not discussing the case further. Hughie refuses the compensation and sends them away. We then hear a call for Mr. Kessler, who is told that a Mr. Butcher wants to meet him. Hearing Butcher's name, Kessler jumps out of his window, but is caught by Butcher waiting for him. Butcher kicks him down and says he's back, and everything will go back to how it was. Butcher and Kessler then search Kessler's office. Looking at some records, Butcher notes an increase in cases of careless supes and donations from the Seven to the government. Butcher notices Hughie and Robin's case and asks Kessler about it. Kessler explains that it happened last week and that Hughie signed the release without any payment, unlike most people. Kessler asks why Butcher needs 5 people, to which Butcher replies, cutting him off, that he needs them, and Kessler falls silent in fear. But what could he do? He was just Hughie, and they were heroes, untouchable, invincible, or so it seemed. In the next scene, Hughie is sitting in a park, thinking that his life was finally going well, and now this has happened. He starts crying, and we see someone sitting next to him. It's Butcher. There are many more issues in this comic series that we will cover later, so stay tuned to the channel. As you may know, Season 4 of The Boys TV series has been released, where we see the same characters fighting the Supes. Let us know in the comments if you are enjoying The Boys TV series. Do you want to see the series end soon, or do you think it should continue for a while longer? If you'd like to read The Boys comic book, we've compiled the comic book sequence for you. You can click the link in the description to purchase The Boys comic books in order. So we'll see you in the next video.